Good afternoon. My name is Alun, and this afternoon in my time zone, I am facilitating the second of 3 sessions of Demigods. Demigods is a PBTA game which is published by Jason. Jason, I've forgotten your second name. Jason Mills. It's currently in Quickstart after a successful Kickstarter. This is the second version of the Quickstart we're playing with. We're expecting the final product sometime in the new year, I think. So this is a game about the sons and daughters, the offspring, the children, the imbued scions of gods. In our case, they are all gods from the Norse or Greco-Roman pantheons. And the concept behind the game is that the gods can't act on Earth directly. They have to work through their agents. And the players today in this series will be playing some of those agents. The tone, I suppose, for this is that my background in this is Scion, the RPG from White Wolf. I think it's still out there. I haven't seen it in a while. Never much like the rules, I'm afraid, but love the setting. But principally American Gods by Neil Gaiman, which is getting a lot of TV coverage these days. This is the setup we had last time, and I'd refer you back to our first episode to understand what brought this group of demigod troubleshooters together into what the game calls a weave, because their fates are woven together. We reached the point where they had discovered common reasons through various means. The fates had laid out some breadcrumbs for them to take them to the southwest of England from London, where they are based, to Dartmoor, or to specifically perhaps a village in Dartmoor, Kingsmead on the Moor, near Exeter. As I say, the tone for this, I think, comes from American Gods. So it is adult rather than gonzo. I don't quite know where we'll go in terms of occult or any horror, but just in case, we are playing with some safety tools. We're playing with the X card. I've played with all these players before, so I know they understand the X card, so I won't labor that. We're playing with an open door, so if stuff does come up, they or I can feel free to wander away and hopefully come back. And the Draft Gauntlet Code of Conduct, because we are playing this as part of the Gauntlet RPG community's monthly calendar of online games. If you don't know anything about the Gauntlet, then you really should look it up as Gauntlet-RPG, and you will find lots of stuff. And better still, you could back the community on Patreon. We have some lines and veils in place from last year. We've got a new player slotting in today, so I will just reprise them. The starting ones were sexual violence, violence against children. I'm not seeing that anyone added any last time. So those are the lines, but I will again say that if anyone wants to add a line, please do so and I'll check back. Veils, these are things that, unlike lines which won't occur in the fiction, stuff that we veil may occur in the fiction, but at that point we'll fade to black. And currently the veiled content we have are sex, torture, and suicide. Again, I'd ask if anybody wants to add anything into there that they do so. I prefer doing it that way than asking, because it's more anonymous. With all that in mind, I'll ask the players to introduce themselves briefly and then just tell us something again briefly about the character that they are playing today. I will go in character keeper order, which means Sabine, say hello and tell us about Dave Deth.
Hello, I'm Sabine. I use any pronouns. I'm playing Dave Deth, who uses he, him pronouns. Dave Deth is the son, probably, of Hail, the Norse goddess of the dead who haven't fallen in honorable combat but have died because of any other reason. He is the son of an Nigerian architect who lives in London and arrived at the doorstep one day with a note pinned to him like this. I don't know if you remember this, but this is yours. Take care of it, okay? And he has, when he was 12, he was introduced into the pantheon by some dead Viking chick who's called Hildur. He might see again or not. He can see dead people and talk to them. And he tries to limit that because it always seems weird to other people. Dave also is the singer and songwriter and man about everything and lead guitarist or whatever you need in a death metal band that used to have a name, but I have forgotten it and it didn't write it down, so that's bad. But maybe he's between bands, or maybe they are still finding a name, so it's always another one.
I've got a suggestion: Hilda's children, given that it was a dead Viking called Hilda.
No. This is not a kind of Norse Viking stuff shenanigans. Death metal band. I don't know if you know Alun R, which is more of a amalgam between African music and heavy metal. So that's more what is supposed to be about.
Well, if you decide what the band's called, we can fill that in as we go along. Moving on. Thank you, Sabine. Ludo, say hello and introduce us to Livia, the Golden Lily Aurea.
Hello, I'm Ludo. I go by any, all pronouns, and I'll be playing Livia Aurea, she, her, and her persona of the wrestler Golden Lily. She is the head / manager of a small stable of wrestlers going around the British countryside, performing shows and promotions. And she is the daughter of the goddess Palestra. She is not used to all this divine mess, but she's there because, willing or not, it's just another problem that has been thrown between her and her family, and she wants to do whatever is best for the weave, for the stable, and for her moms.
Thank you for that. Moving on, Rob, say hello and introduce us to Sophie Fox.
Hi, I'm Rob. I use he, him pronouns, and I'm playing Sophie Fox, who uses she, her pronouns. She is the celestial, not trickster, daughter of Loki. A former police detective who was started receiving tip-offs about some weird phenomenon from her divine parent, which basically forced her to leave the service because nobody wanted anything to do with any of the weird stuff that happens around her. So now she is a private investigator.
Thank you for that. Yeah, sorry. I described Sophie as the trickster daughter of Loki in the first episode write-up, and I am editing that as we speak so that I don't forget that it's celestial. What can I tell you? Loki, tricksters. I just fell into the stereotypes.
No, I'm pretty sure she gets it all the time.
Yes. So sick of being assumed to be a trickster. Yeah. And finally, we've had a change of player. So, Pearl, say hello and introduce us to Valentin Gefn.
Hi, I'm Pearl. I use she and her pronouns, and I am playing Valentin Gefn. You may have been familiar with Astrid. I am essentially Astrid. But my divine parent is Freya from the Norse Aesir. And I'm playing I don't know why I didn't do it in the drop-down menu. I have to remember the actual name of it. This is embarrassing.
It's the Arcane. And
Thank
that's
you,
just
the Arcane.
To me. That's just twigged me why the character keeper was playing up. I should have got the simple solution. I think if you put Arcane in there now, all kinds of stuff will happen. So I would suggest not altering that cell.
Okay.
Because I've messed
I can't
with the
because
stuff.
it's not working. So that's probably why I didn't do it the first time. Anyway, so Valentin is tall, lean, and well-muscled with a dignified bearing and long-suffering eyes. He sort of has accepted his role with the Pantheon and in general with a sort of sigh. He's a bit arrogant and confident. He's confident. And not really up for shenanigans unless it's absolutely necessary. He feels that the Pantheon's a bit routine. They've been doing things the same way for so very many years, and it's all just a bit tired, and he'd rather have a good time. But, you know, what can you do when Freya comes to you when you're 8 and tells you that you are a representative on Earth? You just have to go with it. His mortal parent is Marco Torbjorn, a small shop owner, who he has a sort of fondness for, but a bit of distance, given that he feels a bit otherworldly since he is, and small shops and godliness don't really go hand in hand generally in his mind. But his main thing is just being charming, if a bit distant, trying to keep he likes to keep his hands clean, stay out of all the messy business, as it were. And I think that's... Oh, and he has a familiar.
I was going to ask you about the familiar. What familiar does he have?
He has a snake named Fara Noodle, which means danger noodle, and very fond. It's a small snake that he usually sort of keeps on him if possible, just like in his jacket pocket or wherever else. It's very tame to him, snake.
And the other question I had was that in this game you choose a range of gifts, and one of the gifts you chose was Secret Society membership. And I'm just wondering whether you want to tell us anything about that Secret Society.
I think it's very secret, so probably I shouldn't go around announcing things. They might take away my membership.
Good question. Does the rest of the Weave know that you are a member of this society?
No.
Oh, right.
No. Valentin keeps things very close to the vest.
Okay, so there is a secret society. I will leave it to you to tell me or them anything you want to about it in play. Is that okay?
That sounds totally fine. Oh, and I chose my cantrips, as it said, to pick 3 things.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, I'm very happy for you to pick a cantrip that's appropriate at the time of use.
Okay, then that's easier because I kind of picked them at random, not knowing what the scenes might be.
Exactly,
like,
exactly. And I should say this to all the players about their characters. If there is anything, given that you now know the setup for these next 2 sessions, if there's anything in your character sheet you want to swap out in favor of something else, now would be a good time to do it. You know, Ludo, I am slightly concerned about how I'm going to engage a busload of wrestlers.
It's a gift. It's up to me to use it as part of moves or not.
Fine. Okay. I just have, that's been worrying me all week about how I'm gonna build an opportunity for a busload of wrestlers, or a minibus of wrestlers, perhaps. The bus including a portal back to your gym in London. I just you know, I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure where that's going to come from. So it's down to you, kid. So last time we got as far as the Weave agreeing that Hermes requests that Livia should do him a favor and do what Livia could for a distant descendant of a Roman soldier who worshipped the Greco-Roman pantheon when they were in Britain. This is the most distant of distant blood relations, who is offering up prayers left, right, and center without really knowing that she's praying to the gods of her distant forebear. And to be honest, the Theoi don't get a hell of a lot of prayers these days, and so Hermes has come to Livia asking that she at least go to see what's going on with this woman in the village of Kingsmead on the moor in Dartmoor, because he knew that Livia was heading to Exeter next week, I think, as part of a Southwest wrestling tour. And when she shared that with the other members of the Weave, all of them discovered that events in their day had also led them to have at least a passing interest in the southwest of England generally, and Dartmoor in particular. So what I'm thinking is we got as far as traveling to Exeter. I think that Dave went in his taxi. Sophie went with him. Valentin, I'm going to give you the offer. You can either travel in Dave's taxi for the 4 or 5 hour drive to the southwest, or you can go on the Wrestlers minibus. What's your preference?
I think the taxi, because of my connection with or tangle with Dave. I think that could be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, nobody ever wants to travel on a minibus. I don't know quite why. We may discover why in play. And so I think I had you arriving at a bed and breakfast in Exeter, where Livia had previously booked in her wrestling stable. She just moved the booking forward a week. And so you're all at this bed and breakfast. And would anyone like to have a scene with another character just to explore their relationship before we get too much further in?
Sure, we can be in the taxi and driving through and trying to find the way, because the nav computer has left us somewhere, and somebody has to read the map.
Who wants to read the map, Valentin or Sophie?
Me.
Yeah, I was thinking Sophie. She seems responsible and good at map reading. And also I can look at Valentin through the mirror and he won't see it, which is good for some reason.
So go ahead. What do we see as the camera comes in and looks in the window of the taxi?
Yeah, are you sure this is the right way?
Yeah. Just turn left at the next junction.
That's not. Is that? I think that's a backyard.
Mm. Nope, definitely left.
Okay, well, but there's a dog. I don't run over dogs. Go away, dog. Honk. Oh, wait. I think it's dead. I can run it over again. Bye, dog. See, that's the problem with seeing ghosts all the time. You never know if you should stop for something or if you should just keep going.
Yeah, let's just keep going. Like,
oh, wait, Valentin, I think you want to say something. I have to. There is a thing here. Oh, you're still. I still can't hear you. Now I can see you, Pearl, which is a pity. Oh, okay. No.
Well, that's weird.
No. We had issues with StreamYard and Apple thingies yesterday.
But we could hear you.
Yeah, we have heard you before, obviously.
Is there a physical mute on the earphones? My only suggestion, Pearl, would be to leave. There's a leave studio button on your screen, and then come back to us.
And now we're waiting for Valentin while he has to look at ley lines. Lovely.
Meanwhile, Livia, I'm curious to get a feel for the relationship between you and your handful of wrestlers. What goes on the bus?
I think they are pretty excited because it's the high season. It's when we got big shows. Everyone is looking forward to the next show in London. and they see this one as, as actually a good promotion. They're gonna go there, they're gonna put a good show, they're gonna record a few stuff that they're gonna upload later, and then to pump it up for the show. So everyone is kind of excited and is bouncing back and forth different storylines and last ideas to characters interpretation, and trying to decide which match is going to go how. Some of them are even trying to discuss how to better showcase the new moves that they've been preparing during the cold season.
Okay, so lots of professional conversation.
That type of professional conversation that borders too much on the personal. Yeah, I never look good. Please give me a storyline that makes me good look. Yeah, I like being a jobber, but come on, I have to win sometimes.
Who actually ends up making the decisions? Is this come to by consensus, or is this in the end down to Livia?
Usually it tends to be as a consensus, but the two wrestlers involved, or more for different matches, they have the right of veto on the decision because it pertains more their careers more than anyone else.
In the storyline, is Livia always the hero?
Yeah, Golden Lily is a face, yes.
Who's the heel?
The current heel is the Black Knight, which is a character that they created when they moved to England. And yeah, it's wearing a Roman style armor, but with a blackened gladiator helmet and a drab cloak, and they are infamous by their Black Knight heel breaker.
Okay, that's wasted all my wrestling knowledge. So anything else now is over the top for me. Pearl, I'm just checking in. Are you there, and can you hear us, and can we hear you? Because we'd like to carry on with that scene just before you had some trouble.
No, your lips are moving, but you are still sadly unheard.
I don't think there's anything I can do centrally. I can mute you, but not unmute you. Well, I think while Pearl is, I tell you what, it is 5 to the hour. Is this a good point to take, say, a 7-minute break and come back on the hour? Pearl, will that give you long enough to maybe reboot the machine? Okay, so shall we take our break now, and we'll come back on the hour with all our fingers and toes crossed? Okay, see you in a bit. Fingers crossed, Pearl. I'm assuming that Rob and Ludo can hear me. Pearl, are you there?
Yes.
Oh, and we can hear you.
Just had to switch it up. I'm lucky my friend does not heat his computer at the moment. So, but oh, good. Roll for your party link. One day I'm going to convert everyone to Zoom, and that will be the best day for me. But today is not that day, I suspect.
So let's pick up that scene that we lost in the taxi. We've had Dave and Sophie discussing the map. How do we get Valentin involved in that?
I think if you were to look at Valentin, which I hear someone was, you would see that he's sort of gazing out the window, and you can't tell if he's trying to catch a look at his reflection in the rearview mirror from back there or just taking in the scenery, but he's conspicuously not being involved in what he considers to be a ridiculous conversation. Clearly, we should be doing better than this and already have arrived at our destination. And he just, whatever they want to do.
Anyone want to engage Valentin in conversation? Because he's not keen to volunteer.
No, I think if Valentin isn't volunteering, we have enough of a time trying to figure out where to go and what's what, and not running over any ghosts. So I guess I will keep sneaking glances at him. But it's clear that he is very unimpressed with the whole situation, so I don't think I want to poke at him at this point.
You may have seen like a very subtle eye roll at the whether the dog was a ghost or not bit of the conversation also, if you happen to glance back at that moment. Just like,
no, I don't think so. I don't think you have even seen the dog, so...
No, I don't think I've seen the dog either. I think just if there was a conversation about whether it was dead or not. Like, why are we worrying about this? We have a place to go. He would really like some, well, meat if possible, but he will settle for tea if necessary.
Yeah, well, tea. Has to be tea.
How long have you two been arguing about the directions and map?
Until we get there, probably.
Oh, okay. So then, yeah, probably he just sits in the back, increasingly sort of stiff in posture, trying not to express frustration, but at the same time trying to exude frustration, if that makes sense.
I think that gives us a flavor of Valentin as a character and of relations. So unless anyone wants to do anything else, I'm going to cut to the sitting room of the bed and breakfast, where the four of you can discuss how exactly you're going to address the problem or problems that you're here to solve. That's in Exeter, which is about a 50-minute drive from Kingsmead on the Wold. Who takes the lead in deciding what you're going to do next?
I think it's going to be Livia. She is laying down the road maps, as you know, as the little side roads that we might take, detours, and pinning the addresses of the people whose names we Googled and try to find out where they live, and trying to see which is the most efficient route to talk with everyone on the way.
Well, there's only one person. The names you have so far are John Collins, who disappeared about 30 years ago. These are in the NPCs, and I've not put a picture in for John because all we have is his name. Julie Wells, who Sophie was trying to discover something about She went missing a year ago, last August, September time, while hitchhiking in this area. So the only person that you have who might have an address, I think, is Anna Willacott, who was the descendant of that Roman who's been praying to anyone who will listen. And I think that you can find an address in Kingsmead. Shall we say it's number 2, the Green, in Kingsmead, which, as I say, is about a 50-minute drive from where you're currently located. So what do you do?
So that is the first point. I think once she realizes that there is not much information, that's when Livia turns to Sophie and says, well, could you find out where Collins and Wells they were? You know, last place in which they were seen, in which place they were being hosted. Maybe they left their belongings there or something like the case. We might need to stop there before we go into that more.
So where are we right now? Are we in...
You're in Exeter, in the bed and breakfast where you're staying.
Okay, so I think Sophie will do her drink trick again.
Does it always have to? Was it rum and coke? Does it always have to be rum and coke, or can it be any liquid?
It can be any liquid. I'm pretty sure. Just something dark, which can potentially have bubbles or something reminiscent of stars in it. So
fine. So coffee swirling as it reflects the light from the rather unpleasant, out of date, slightly dusty pendant lamp hanging over this slightly run-down bed and breakfast sitting room. So tell us about the move, and let's see what it tells us.
Okay, so the move, if I can get back to the character sheet, is or tracker. So where is it? Yeah, tracker. So I roll with judgment to divine someone's movements through signs and portents.
Go for it.
If I have something important to the quarry, which I don't believe I do, then I can take a +1.
I think you have the graduation photo of Julie Wells that her mother gave you, I think. So I think that would count as sufficiently important.
Okay, so I will roll 2d6. That is 3.
But
it's doubles. It's doubles.
Mark experience. Sorry, it's not experience, is it? It's mark a thread. And remember, you can spend threads in this game. You don't just accumulate them. They have mechanical weight themselves. And just to exemplify, you can always spend a thread earned to reduce 2 harm, not appropriate here, add a significant detail to the scene, or give yourself fate favor on a roll you just made by the 3rd dice after you roll.
I could do that. I would probably need a 6 for it to help.
You would.
What the hell? I'll try it.
I'd still give you the +1 on tracker, I think. I'm not sure I should, but I think I will. So just re-roll one of those dice if you like, and don't give yourself that thread.
Okay. So that's 5, 6, 7.
Which is just what you needed. So on a 7 to 9 with tracker, where is it? There. You know where they are right now and where they've been recently. we've talked about how this works. So you swirl the drink, you look into the lights reflecting off the surface of the drink, and using our special effects budget, the camera zooms into the top of the coffee. The dark of the coffee begins to disperse in a spiral following the flickering lights out. And you are looking out. I can tell you the exact view. If you look in the tab marked NPCs and places, just before that rather attractive picture of Exeter, there is a picture of Kingsmead on the moor from a hill above the village, and that's where she is, but you don't see her. That is what you are shown. And as the camera pans around, you can see a plantation. If you scan down, you'll find some pictures of Dartmoor Forest, and I think the second one of Dartmoor Forest down shows a conifer plantation, and she's in that plantation somewhere. Okay.
So that's where she is now, and she was in the town recently.
I think what you know from your investigations to date is that she was last. The last report was from a driver of a truck heading down in this direction. She hitchhiked, got a lift with the truck, and the driver, who's been entirely exonerated of any blame by the police investigation that is now kind of on hold because they've just run out of leads, he dropped her in Exeter. But the truck driver worked for the truckload was Jaeger Industries, and you were following up a lead with a Jaeger executive, as I remember last time. So he dropped her in Exeter. He says that he did tell her about Kingsmead because that's where he was heading, to the Jaeger paper mill that's located just outside Kingsmead. And that's all he can tell you. That's all the police have been able to find. No one, when they investigated Kingsmead, nothing in the police investigation suggested she ever arrived there.
Okay, so I'm gonna look up information about what was it? Conifer plantation, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, so conifer plantation, Kingsmead, or
it's a plantation that was planted about 35, 40 years ago when the Jaeger bought the land. Most of the forest, most of Dartmoor Forest is deciduous. They planted a conifer plantation, and 20 years after they planted it, they then set up a paper mill to make use of the plantation, and they've been maintaining the plantation ever since to feed the paper mill. I don't think there's anything that needs to roll in that. That's just Google.
Yeah. All right. So she appears to be in a plantation, conifer plantation, which is was planted by Jaeger Industries.
Yeah.
To supply the paper mill here.
Do you have a feeling for if she's alive or not?
I just know that's where she is right now.
Oh, well, if she's dead, we can go there and talk to her.
True.
I
I'm more
mean,
worried about the Jaeger people. They might get in our way.
To figure out if she's alive or dead would probably be more your area of expertise, Dave. So
it's true. Yeah, I mean, I could try calling her here, but I can only call a spirit of somebody who isn't who has passed on once, and I might have better chances if I have a body. And if
I
she's
can
not
probably.
that, sorry,
Dave.
Valentin, go ahead.
Sorry, Valentin, missed that.
I can probably handle talking to the Jaeger people while the rest of you go and look for ghosts and things. If that would be of use.
Sounds good.
So, Livia, you set out to lay out the plan. What, based on the evidence to bet?
You're muted.
Sorry, Livia, you set out to lay out the plan based on that bit of evidence collection. What's Livia's suggestion? I'm trying to help you devise a strategy, I think.
Yeah, so the plantation is before we get into the village or past the village into Darkmoor?
The village is in the very center of Dartmoor, so you're going to travel through Dartmoor come what may. Looking at the map, there's one road in and there's one road out of Kindermead. There are some tracks on the map that seem to go into the forest. You could get to those tracks cross country from the village, or you could stop the vehicles and go cross country yourself. You know, either side of the village.
So Livia looks at that and says, well, I think the best approach is for Valentin to be your face and present a cover when talking with these Jaeger people while I get into location. And after I'm done, then Valentin can teleport too close to me.
What? No. I mean, we can go with you. Why should we teleport there?
Well, are you sure you can keep up with me?
Of course I can. Why shouldn't I?
Well, good question. But yeah, I think that we have a group misleading the attention so that we get leave and the second group gets in closing and gets it done, and then use your magic to join us, Valentin. You can do that, right?
I suppose so. You mean once I've made the distraction for the Jaeger people to just jump to where you are?
Yeah, you can give your familiar to us, and maybe it's easier. I don't know.
Yeah, we work a bit in tandem. I'm not sure how I feel about sending Father Noodle with anyone else, but I think we could manage it. So I would agree and leave you all to your squabbling over the rest.
Just to be mechanically clear, which move are you thinking is going to allow you to teleport somewhere? Because I'm not seeing that as an effect.
Also did not know. I just went with it because somebody else said it, to be honest.
You might have. I'm not sure Valentin can teleport anywhere unless I'm misreading the moves.
Yeah, I don't think they have that move, no.
Yeah, it's Portal, the one you're thinking of, I think.
Yeah, I think you're thinking of loads of other PBTA games, but not this one.
The spell casting move says when you cast a spell, describe what it should do using the effects you want.
And there's a list of possible effects. And
cast the spell instantly seems like it could be it. But yeah, I don't see... There's restricting movement, but I don't see there's... Right?
Yeah, and I think that kind of magic is beyond a cantrip.
Yeah, I don't think I had in mind something like
there's actually a portals move that would let you teleport from A to B, so it wouldn't make sense if this could be achieved by any other means.
Yeah. So with all of that in mind, it's getting late now. Are you going to do anything tonight, or can I cut to the morning and you tell me what you do?
Let's get to the morning.
Fine. It's a frosty morning, surprisingly frosty this early in the year. It's I've been thinking about dates, and I think it's at the end of summer. Autumn is a matter of days away. So, what do you do?
So we get to the car and we drive to the plantation then.
Okay. Are you? I assume you're leaving the minibus and the stable of wrestlers.
Yeah, because they have the show here, right? That's
Indeed.
what they have the show, yeah. So
okay. So in the taxi, you drive to Kingsmead on the Moor. You see a couple. Right. So you're driving through the moor, and I've put some kind of pictures of Dartmoor, both the village and its surrounds, so it's gorgeous. And you're driving along a river valley. The road has got narrower and narrower as you've got nearer the middle of the centre of the moor and Kingsmead, and you've passed a couple of times signs saying, Jaeger paper mill. Do you want to take any of those turnings?
Now we go to Kingsmead, I guess. I mean, whatever the map says, we go first to Kingsmead and then to the plantation.
And you come around a corner, Dave, and there's a kind of medium-sized truck, I guess. I'm not sure what I would call it. A kind of white van. It's not a big truck. It's a flatbed truck. It's not very big. With Dave, there are men on the back of the truck with clubs beating off small humanoids. What do you do, Dave?
I stop the car and try to figure out if this is only me seeing that or if anybody can. And I will ask the others, hey, does anything about this scene seem weird to you, or is it just me?
It isn't just Dave, for what it's worth.
Can I use esoteric, etc., to pierce the veil on this, because this seems very bizarre?
It does seem a little odd to me as well. Yeah. So things, secret things, dangerous things. When you pierce the veil about something truly obscure, take +1 on the roll. So go ahead. You have Secret Society membership, so you get Fate's Favor, which means you roll 3 dice and take the top 2.
Okay. Okay. That's great. So I guess I don't know anything useful.
Well, you could again. You do have some threads. Didn't we give you a thread from last week? I thought we did.
I think you did.
I just marked it up for 1. So you can spend that thread to re-roll one of those dice, presumably the lowest one. You've got a 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, that's the way my dice usually work. Yesterday was anomalously good. How important do we? It seems pretty important to know what the hell's going on here. So I'll go ahead and I'll use my thread. How do I get more of them again? Just so that I'm.
If you look down, you'll see that threads are gained by rolling doubles, being epic.
That's right.
And then the other ones are once per. And Livia, you should have one for explain a strategy.
Is not after the session?
No, I think it's once per session.
Okay.
Actually, how I read it.
So cast a spell,
I
chastise
track someone as well.
Invest in mystery, and explain how magic works. Okay. So I have opportunities to get more. It's not like this is my one thing. Well, that's better. So that's, I guess, a 9, unless I have something else when I... does it get rolled with a stat? Sorry, I'm still trying to remember everything.
Yes, it does.
Pierce the veil.
Plus judgment.
Plus judgment. Watch my judgment ruin all of this. So would either of them Oh, 10. 10 then.
I'm sure I've done something wrong with that, but let's go with 10.
Okay.
On 10, ask 3 questions. There's a list of the questions on the Moved tab.
Okay.
I'm not a great fan of lists of questions, so if there
Nor
is a
am I.
question, I will interpret the questions as broadly as I can.
Yeah. How about instead of why did this person place their thing, just why are these people beating the things?
Fine. I think the things appear to be attacking the lorry, the truck, and they are being beaten off the back of it by 2 guys in coveralls labeled Jaeger.
Okay.
2 questions left.
I know. Maybe I'm just going to not look at the list as much and ask if these things will work out. Are the Jaeger people actually people, like normal human beings?
They look like people, and the things that they are trying to beat, who are attacking the truck and they're trying to beat off, Valentin is pretty certain are goblins.
Okay, so what appear to be people, which is interesting wording, are beating goblins off of the Jaeger truck. And what is the greatest danger with this situation?
I think, given that goblins are supernatural, the greatest danger to the weave is the goblins. Okay. 2 guys on the back of a truck with some kind of bits of wood, clubs beating these things off should not be any challenge to the weave.
Should not. I am very suspicious of the Jaeger people. So I will relay these impressions to the group.
Oh, as soon as Valentin says that, Livia is just going to charge at the goblins.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, right.
So Livia,
leave one of them dead so I can talk to it, and then I will follow Livia.
So as I'm charging the goblins, I try to trigger War Never Changes to burst the veil of someone that I'm just fighting.
Okay, so go ahead as you charge the 30 yards or so to where they are.
That's a glimpse for someone with Unstoppable. So I get an 11.
And tell us what that means.
So it's a pierce the veil. So again, I get to pick from the list. So basically, it's like time slows down for Livia as she gets out of the car and rushes in to get next to the goblins. As she reappears right beside the goblins, she takes a good look at what they are doing. So I'm going to ask 3 questions. So what is the purpose of the goblins?
I think that it's pretty clear that they are trying to either hurt the humans or damage the truck. I think some of them are attacking the humans. Some of them are clawing at the tires. Some of them are trying to clamber onto the truck to get at the bales of paper that are there.
Why did the goblins want the paper? Second question.
Unless you can give me some narrative reason how you could divine that from what I've described so far, I'm struggling to give you a clear answer to that.
Yeah, basically, I'm in the middle of the battlefield. I'm ready to engage. I'm studying my enemy, and I'm picturing that they're focused way too much into the cargo, to the point in which they are leaving themselves exposed to mortals and to a new arrival. So I'm getting, what can there be about this piece of paper that is inside this? What is so attractive about this that they are their priority and they are willing to put themselves at the disadvantage to get that?
Okay. It is not that they're paying particular attention to the paper. They are wanting to damage anything Jaeger. Okay.
Okay. So I guess in this case, I want to ask, what happened to the goblins recently? When I look down at if they are wearing any clothes, if they have something on them, if they have mud or something, anything that might tell you where these goblins came from.
They are quite mossy. There is moss clinging to their clothes. There is moss in their spiky, straggly hair. Good enough?
Yeah. Third question then. Who made the goblins?
Who made the goblins? I think that Livia knows that goblins exist in that world that is just slightly out of focus from our own, the land of fairy. So I guess the simple answer is that fairy made the goblins. They are minor fae in the supernatural order of battle. Now, while Livia is thinking about that before she actually hits somebody, can I go back to Dave? Dave, you said that you were getting out of the car as well. What do you do?
Yeah, I will summon my scythe, and then you will see some kind of the shadows gathering around Dave a bit. Like he's wearing a robe or a cowl or something like that, and the wind picks up and starts swirling about him because I have a move called whirlwind. And then I will go in and start shoving the goblins.
Can I ask a couple of questions about the transformation? I'm interested whether he summons the scythe from midair or whether there is something he always has with him that transforms into the scythe.
No, it's just a summons. He's just calls it.
Fine. And the cowled robes that begin to coalesce out of the darkness around him, are they his clothes transformed, or again are they summoned from death?
It's just shadows.
Okay.
There's shadows.
Okay.
They look like a robe with a cowl, but they are not really there.
Okay. And so he sets off to he sets off towards the lorry, the truck.
Yeah.
Sophie, what about you? What are you doing when these two leap out of the and race towards this Jaeger truck?
So I'm gonna get out of the taxi as well, and I'm gonna summon Leviathan, which it basically sort of greenish vines or branches come out from my sleeve and form a sort of green wooden staff gun. It's not quite, it's like a gun basically, but it's essentially a magic staff.
A magic staff that fires magic stuff. Okay, so this is your epic ranged weapon, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. And finally, Valentin, what's your reaction to these events?
I would like to do some spell casting. And what I want it to do is to, I'm working on the communicate impossibly, and casting it instantly would be my chosen effects if I can have them, to have my voice appear in the minds of all of the goblins and humans who are fighting.
Okay, well, let's see how that spell casting goes.
I'm now wishing I had saved my thread, but we shall see. 7, 8, 9.
That's not bad, is it?
Close to 10, but still, yes. Good.
So 7 to 9, pick one effect and one cost. So the effect was communicate impossibly.
Yeah. The cost, I can have one of my senses dulls for a time, I think.
Okay, so which sense?
Smell.
Smell. Fine. So your sense of smell is stunted.
Be realistic.
Yeah. You communicate impossibly. You don't, though, manage to do it instantly. So I'm going to come back to you once we've been around the table once to see what's happened. So, Livia, you were first there. What do you do?
So, the moment I realized that these are the Fae and they are doing something that might not be sanctioned by their Fae Liege or not, I tried to call the goblins into stopping their destructive behavior. I try to basically I start glowing as I try to call them back into the forest. Do your kings or queens know what you're doing? Through which hunters you lay prey on?
Is that an effort to sway them?
Yeah, I'm trying to sway them.
I'm loath to ask, Pearl, but can you mute yourself? Because we're just hearing your type.
I thought I was muted already. I apologize.
Sorry, Livia, go ahead.
So sway is all, right?
It is.
Yeah. Oh, 5. Time to use that thread. Tick. And add the next one. Well, and the 1. So I picked the 1 and the 1. So at least I get a thread back.
You get a thread back.
Yeah.
So let me think. I think that your effort to call their attention to you works perfectly, and they swarm you. Before they do, I'm going to ask Dave what he does as he arrives on scene.
Well, Dave will start to. He doesn't use the blade, but he will try to push them away from the cart and Livia and whoever is there. But it's still, it is smite your enemies. I'm trying to smite them, more like pushing them away. I'm angling for one of the other options from the list, besides harm, but I still will roll with that move.
Okay, smite them.
Yeah, I should have set up my dice before, but I haven't for some reason. Yeah, I like white for this. I'm trying to find a color. Yeah, okay, that's a 9.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
On 7 to 9, choose one from the list below.
Yeah, I want to take something from my enemy, and that's their kind of their aggression, their will to fight. I guess I want to sap their morale, because I imagine I look pretty dangerous at that point with that giant thing.
Yeah, depends what life is like in Fairy, isn't it? So you have the option in this game to exchange harm or not. I think I hear that you are not exchanging harm, and instead you are choosing which one? Sorry, missed it.
I'm choosing take something from them, which is their courage, their morale, or their fighting spirit.
Oh, okay. So I think that a number of them look rather nervous. I still think that it's going to take another round for that swarm to be affected by Livia. I think probably now it's Sophie and our first epic ranged weapon. So, of course, you are being, by definition, epic whenever you use it, Sophie.
Okay, so...
wait a second. Sorry, I cause collateral damage at that point because I am using a move. And also, I have also an epic weapon.
Oh, right. Well, you'll get to mark epic as well. I think collateral damage is as you swirl. Do you describe that collateral, or do I? Is the move clear?
the move is not clear, I think. It says, you may choose to roll with judgment instead of prowess, which I did. This will incur collateral damage, and you can't select the protect yourself option, which I wasn't. But I think I can describe that. What happens is that the paper stuff on the back of the truck gets, there is a whirlwind, a literal whirlwind, so that picks up the paper stuff, and now everything is full of flying papers.
So we're seeing you whirling this scythe around your head, invoking the whirlwind, and these rolls of paper are being carried up in that and scattered left, right, and center. Okay, Sophie, be epic.
All right, so just so I'm understanding, all that I know is that they're trying to get this paper. They're trying to steal this paper. Is that what I know?
No, they are trying to damage anything Jaeger. People, truck, paper.
Okay, well, I could call that morally repugnant because they're trying to cause harm.
Well, looking at your police background, this is certainly the kind of stuff that would lead to an antisocial behavior order.
Mm-hmm. So when attacking someone you have found guilty of a morally repugnant crime, you don't miss. So I roll to smite my enemies, but I treat a 6 minus as a 7 to 9. So
go for it.
Just roll. Okay. So that's what's my smite at? Yeah, it's just a 9. And I may choose to restrain the target instead of exchanging harm.
You can indeed.
So I just fire out like a bolt of green magical energy at them, and it just, when it hits them, it turns into vines and entangles.
And two of these goblins are bound to the back of the Jaeger truck. Valentin, your effect will go off now. So you speak to both the Jaeger employees or the Jaeger truck drivers and the goblins. What do you say? Because it's automatically understood by them all.
If you wouldn't mind, I'll stopping this nonsense for a moment. I'll have you know this suit is exceptionally expensive, and that if I were to get dirt on it, there would be consequences. Can we all talk this out like civilized beings, please?
That sounds like sway to me. So 2d6 plus ore.
Okay. That's 10. No, 9 again. So close to 10 every time.
So close. So close. Remember that you get a thread for casting a spell.
Yes, I've marked that, but I think I'm not going to use it right away again. Because...
Okay. So on a 9, for NPCs, on something they'll do it, but they demand some kind of price. Now, on the goblins' part, I think that the price that they demand, or they are simply going to take, is they are going to run for the hills after Livia's effort to sway them, the fear that Dave has engendered in them. And in fact, the two that are pinned to the back of the truck, they also desperately look towards they're trying to get away, but clearly failing because Sophie has bound them in place.
Perfect.
The two men on the back of the truck, I think, as the goblins run away, they look dumbfounded at the four of you. Now, the important thing to note here, that in the setting, ordinary people, inverted commas, people unfamiliar, the non-clued in a Dresden verse sense, don't see the supernatural at all. Their brains fill in some perfectly logical events. And as if to reinforce that and to remind our audience of it, there's a beep of a car, as a carload of tourists overtake both the park taxi, the truck, Death incarnate, and 2 goblins. And the guy winds down the windows and says, have you broken down? Can I help at all? Who says what to who?
Well, one of my cantrips that I had originally thought I would have, which I know we decided they would go as they needed to, but I think I'd like to keep it, is the ability to put a slight glamour on myself and make myself more charming. So I will walk out of the car, and it seems like we're having a bit of a misunderstanding here to the people in the tourist car, but I think we've got it under control. Thank you so much for stopping. It's lovely of you to try to be a good citizen, but I think we've got it. Go ahead and you can drive on. Thank you. Very nice to meet you.
That's fine. Enjoy the rest of your day. And the window goes up and they drive past as if nothing has happened. So what is odd is that the truck, the Jaeger employees, one, they saw the goblins well enough to beat them off or try to beat them off, and 2, they are looking at you and you know that they are seeing you as you really are.
Well, I was suspicious of that before, so I'm not entirely surprised.
Now, Sophie, you pinned these gremlins, these goblins to the back of the truck. What do you do?
Right now, I'm wishing I'd taken. I had more XP to get that move, but yeah, I'm gonna go up to the goblins that are pinned to the truck and crouch down. Mind explaining what you're doing here?
The king will hear this. The king will hear this. Let us go. Let us go. Let us go. Let us go. Oh, the king will get you. The king will get you. Livia?
I'll let you go when you explain. You explain why you are making a scene out here.
Jaeger are bad. Jaeger are evil. Jaeger are our enemies.
Okay, what have they done?
The king says they're our enemies.
Okay.
They're goblins.
So I'm gonna continue this conversation, and you can move on to.
Fine. Livia, your divine golden skin simply drove the goblins away. What do you do?
I try to calm down and turn to the Jaeger people. We don't know how many of them there are there. You should probably get on your track and get as far away as you can.
We've got to retrieve the paper rolls. I'll have to get the forklift down.
Yeah. Do that later. Just drive now. Come back in half an hour or something.
Dave, you're also on site there next to the truck. What do you do?
I think I want to look around and see if there's anything that we're missing right here. I mean, this seems pretty obvious, but while I'm in the death mode, I might just as well see if there's a ghost or something died here, or if something's hidden. So I want to pierce the veil, obviously.
Okay.
And I roll, and I get wow! Hey, I got an 11.
Oh,
Nice.
and just a reminder: if you do get 13, there is an even additional level of success in this game. So keep an eye for those really high numbers.
Yeah.
So pierce the veil. Ask me almost any question you like.
I get 3 questions, right, for my 11. Let me see. I think what I most want to know is there's a ghost here, but that's not exactly the right wait, why did this just, how can I get this? Okay. So there's no way to say if there's something hidden here, which I cannot perceive. So, yeah, I want to know what the greatest danger, we had that before.
Circumstances have changed.
Yeah, it's true. So maybe I'll go with the what's the greatest danger here.
In the scene as it currently exists. And we're talking about the danger to the weave, aren't we? Always,
yes.
As I thought.
Yes.
The greatest danger to the weave is Jaeger. You can see some shadows hanging around these men, this paper, this truck. There is an ominous portentousness about it, them.
So I want to know if I can get any idea why here specifically? Why this place? Why not any other place?
Would you allow me to have them drive away? Because that would allow me to give you a decent answer to that. Because Livia's on the road.
Yeah, you can answer that when they drive away, okay?
Okay. Do you want to use your third question while they're still on site?
Yeah, what I want to know is what happened to these guys that they can see us?
Okay. There is sometimes with clued in mortals, there's a slightly kind of peculiar aura around them. It's almost as though their contact with the supernatural means that some of it has rubbed off on them. And I think I can tell you that both of these workers, these truck drivers, have that slightly burnished, greenish tinge around them of aura, suggesting that they have been in contact with the supernatural. As far as you know, you need to be exposed to the supernatural quite a lot. One encounter is probably not going to be enough unless it's a very intense one. And so the supernatural has rubbed off on them. And as they drive away, the answer to your previous question is that what you see driving off with them are the shredded shades of the dead. Whether they're associated with the people, the truck, I don't know. They are not directly associated with the paper rolls that came off the truck. But Jaeger smells of death to Dave. Well,
I will relay this in an appropriately dramatic fashion, that there are shards of ghosts around this truck. Wonder what we would find if we were to go and look at the factory. If you all will excuse me, I think this calls more for a bird's eye view than the view on the mortal ground. And I will turn into a raven.
Okay, I'll come back to that one. Sophie, sorry, I've had this truck.
Okay, yeah, great. They're evil, I get it. But why are they evil?
Because the king said so.
Why? Okay, did the king tell you anything more than that, or did he just say they're evil?
They are evil, and we must attack them, and we must.
Okay, well, I'm going to need to talk to your king, because obviously he knows more than you do.
The king knows everything, miss.
Yeah. So how do I get in contact with your king?
Oh, the king gets in contact with people. The king gets in contact with you. You don't get in contact with the king.
Well, I'm not in a patient mood. I'm not going to wait for your king to call me. So why don't you tell me how I can find him?
And then one of them chirps up and says, I suppose we could take you.
Yes, you could.
You'd have to cut us loose.
I mean, I feel like I should have rolled to sway someone before that came up. I'll cut you loose, but you'll still be bound.
Oh, yes, miss. Certainly, miss. We're good goblins.
So she just taps the staff against the vines, and they mostly collapse, leaving just basically handcuffs.
Fine. So then the truck drives away, and you have two handcuffed goblins. What do you do?
Okay. Lead the way.
And they set off. They clamber up onto the top of the dry stone wall, jump down the other side, and set off across the field beyond towards the trees. What do you do?
I'm going to head off in that direction.
Anyone else? Or should I ask?
Absolutely not.
I'm sure there's some mud in that feed, Valentine. Livia, what about you?
I mean, I see Sophie going alone, and I immediately go after them. They clearly have seen something that I did not.
Dave?
No, I'm following. I'm Raven following the truck.
Of course, yeah. Oh, you're going to the truck. Yes, I'd forgotten about the Raven. I did want to come back to that, but Valentin, both Sophie and Livia have set off over the wall and up the field. You are with the car. Do you stay?
I'm going to drive the car. I have no desire to stand in the side of the road like some hitchhiker, for heaven's sake.
What I'm going to suggest is Dave did leap out of that car quite quickly, so I think that the keys are still in the ignition. Dave, talk us through the transformation into a raven.
Well, it's not really very dramatic. Dave says his thing, and then the cowl and the clouds and the whirlwind falls down, and the raven flies away.
Oh, right. So it all just, and there's a bit goes. Fine. So Dave is following the truck. Sophie and Livia are following the goblins. Valentin is driving into Kingsmead. Fine. Let's do that with the goblins first, I think. So they're a lot quicker than they look, these goblins, Sophie. So I think I probably want you to perform under pressure to stay up with them, because they're about to disappear into this wood. That's roll plus metal. Metal.
So that's a 6, but I will spend one of my threads to
re-roll that 1.
Yep. Nope, still a 6.
This is not a friendly dice room. It's clear to me that this is no time for accurately squared crayfish to begin to perform as badly as this. But never mind. So, Sophie, they've disappeared into the trees. You've lost them. Livia, What are you doing?
Do I have problems keeping up with them with Unstoppable?
I think with Unstoppable, I think what it you start with a few mortal barriers will stop your momentum. It's about momentum rather than speed, isn't it?
So I guess so.
Because it strikes me that it's about charging through things, not about traveling like the Flash. So I think probably I do need you to roll for perform under pressure.
Okay. Perform under pressure is metal, right? Yeah. So it's a 10.
Well, zoom. On a 10, you get it done, no problem. So Livia has disappeared into the forest, Sophie, in pursuit of the goblins. You arrive at the top of this sloping field at the edge of the forest going, what do you do?
So Sophie is going to close her eyes with the staff in front of her and just try and focus on the goblins to see where they went.
Is that third eye? Or is that...
It could be tracking. It could be third eye, but I was thinking more tracking, yeah.
Well, given that we've established in the fiction that normally you use this dark liquid of some kind to use your tracking, what I think I can allow you to do is to use third eye, allows you to do it without that, but with the staff. Does that seem reasonable?
Yeah. So what's that rolling on?
Tracker is judgment.
Oh, yeah. Okay. That's 12 plus 2, 14.
Oh, 14. Sadly, this isn't. It's only the basic moves that have a 13 plus bonus. So you see into the near future and know where they'll be in an hour. Using signs and portents. So what you're able to see with your third eye, will you tell me, what is it that you see as you look into the forest that allows you to track them to their destination?
So because I'm using third eye and not the actual tracker spell, I was thinking maybe it was a pierce the veil. It's the same roll essentially.
Okay, yeah, I'd go with that.
So I would be asking, where is this person, place, or thing?
At this very moment, you will get a flash of them on their little stumpy legs racing through the forest. And I think it's fair to say, yeah, racing through the forest at this moment in time. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
I think I can give you a bearing on them, a heading, so you could follow in that direction, but not at this point catch them.
Like, so I'm thinking maybe like the staff sort of shoots up and points in that direction. On a 10 plus, I get 3 questions. Can I hold the other 2?
I think because you're using this to find them, I'm loath to say that it can just hang about, because something could happen once you get in that woodland that would require, which would mean a different question, really.
Where did this person, place, or thing, where did this thing come from?
I can give you a distinct picture of that. The staff doesn't waver. It's in the direction they're heading. They're going straight line through this. And can you see there is a picture in H16? It's one of the Dartmoor Forest pictures. There's a fabulous picture of some twisted trees. That's where they came from.
Right.
Covered boughs.
Well, what is the greatest danger with this place?
Going there alone. Let's cut to Livia. Livia, you're racing in there, you're closing on them, but as you run through the forest, you notice that the nature of the woodland is changing. You raced into a coniferous plantation. But as you are running through them, the ground is getting less even. There are moss-covered stones. The trees are becoming deciduous and more twisted. What do you do?
I try to force the goblins to stop, so that once I realize that Sophie is not following us.
I think that probably is unstoppable, actually. I'll let you roll unstoppable for that one. Because I think that just as bursting through something, you should be able to get to them and burst through them, in effect.
Yeah, so I try to burst to them and stand on their way and make them stop. Okay. Unstoppable is prowess. So, I get 6. So I'm gonna use a thread.
And re-roll something.
I rerolled and I got the same result. So I get a thread back because I have a fail.
You do.
Yeah.
Oh no! Hang on. You don't. Do you? You don't get You don't get a thread on fail for this one. You just get it for doubles and epic.
Yeah, I got a epic. I got a double. 1-1.
Oh, so of course you did. I beg your pardon. Sorry, I'm being stupid. So I think that as you are running towards them, you see them running towards 2 twisted boughs of tree, and at the point you are about to burst through them, because that was a fail, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I can take 4 harm and succeed, or take 2 and take an humiliation to my pride. I think I'm gonna take 2.
Okay. No, hang on. I'm not. Explain that to me. Oh, 6 plus 2 harm physically, anti your pride as you bounce. Okay, so you take 2. What effect does that have?
Basically, I try to run through them, but the last thing that I hear is the goblin giggling as I trip on something, and they just keep running across.
Right, they don't keep running. They disappear between those true tree boughs.
Even worse.
As you look down at the ground, you're not entirely certain that you can see where you tripped. It's almost as if a root tripped you, and when you look down, there's no root there. Okay? Now, before I go to Dave as Raven and Valentin in the village, it is time for our second break. So it's 7 minutes past. Back here by 12 minutes past. See you then. Okay. So we have Livia sprawled in the forest. And because that wound is also to her pride, I think that we will see Sophie catching up, being guided by her staff, so that Livia has someone to be embarrassed in front of. But I want to cut, I think we cut to Dave flying. We get a picture of the Raven flying over the village, following the truck as it goes through the village and out the other side. And I think we'll then have pan back to see Valentin driving the car into the village. There is some parking space in the middle of the village around the village green, Valentin. Would that do?
I think so, as long as it's, not too muddy.
No.
What is the name of Dave's band?
I don't know. Ask Dave.
Dave, what's the name of your band?
I have not decided right now. I think it's I think right now it's called Hiatus because we couldn't decide, and so it's called Hiatus because whatever.
So yeah, I'll park the car and turn it off. And one might note that I happened to not shut off the recording of Hiatus that had been playing, so I've been listening. But since no one was in the car, no one notices.
I think that as you drive through the village, it's not the kind of village where kind of heavy metal music is routinely played. So I think we'll see you driving this slightly muffled as you drive into the village sound of this music playing, and people kind of looking as you go past. And of course, when you park and turn it off, the music stops. So what do we see Valentin doing?
Receiving clementines from a very dear friend. Studiously ignoring any looks being given from the public. They're below his regard at the moment. And he is going to, so there's a parking area. Remind me of the parking
village, yeah.
Yeah, he is actually just going to look around, and he sees the Crown Goose and Tower Tavern, and figures that he will wait for Dave to come back in Raven form. Like, the car is visibly there, and that going off on his own just doesn't seem like a good plan at this moment. And he would like a cup of mead, if possible.
He goes into the pub, and the barman looks across and he says, mead? Don't get a lot of demand for that, mister.
Well, now you do. Do you have any mead?
I'll go and look in the cellar. And he will come up with a really dusty bottle that clearly is, I'm just going to, a dusty bottle that he can, and will that do?
If it's all you have, I suppose it will. Would you please rinse it for me? That's horrendous.
I'll put it in a clean glass, sir.
All right, sure, that will do. And after he pours it and whatnot, I will take it and sit by the window and look to the skies.
Okay.
For Dave.
And wait. Dave.
Yes.
We see Valentin looks up out of the window, and we follow his gaze to find Dave again continuing to kind of follow the truck. And you'll follow the truck and see it turn in through what looks like a factory entrance, really. And you can see in a valley over the hill from Kingsmead is the Jaeger paper mill. Lots of kind of steam coming out of these stacks, these cooling stacks. What do you do? I love it when I can tell Sabine she's muted.
You can. I was muted, right? I am not anymore. I will still look around and see if there are any ghosts, or if this weird phenomenon with the ghost, the shreds around the truck, if I can trace that to somewhere where those shreds might be not shreds, but something else.
I don't think I'll make you pierce the veil for this, because you can see dead people, and so what I think I will say is that it isn't so much as there's a source of this. It is that it's almost as though this factory is built on a basis of death.
That's weird.
Not and that I'm not being entirely literal here. I'm not suggesting it's built on a cemetery or anything like that. It's just that Jaeger is intimately connected with death.
Okay.
That it smells of death rather than being distinct ghosts. Is that okay?
Yeah, I guess these are just one question. Does that mean that he's some sort of death god, or does that mean that there are just lots of dead people?
I think that this factory is connected to death somehow.
Okay. Weird. So it could be the cause of death or profit from death, I guess, like that?
Or both, yes.
Or both. Interesting. Okay, I will go around and see if anything jumps out at me, like, oh, there's a zombie walking around, or like, hey, these people are killing another person, or something like that, which I doubt, but still better safe than sorry.
Our audience gets a decent kind of aerial view of the factory. We see the layout. We can see tracks going off out of the back of the factory into the forest. And probably we'll see maybe one of those big kind of tow trucks with 3 or 4 logs, kind of long tree trunks strapped to the back, coming down to the factory for processing.
Okay, so these logs aren't the cause of death, right? Of the death feeling.
I think it's the Jaeger. It's almost the structure, the physical structure of the factory that is built on death. Or profits from death.
That's weird.
And it's the embodiment of Jaeger Industries here.
So, but it doesn't. I don't think that this is kind of. I don't know. I have to decide if I feel.
Well, that's an interesting question.
Kind of nice or not. I mean, could be.
I think it depends on Dave. I think. I mean, is it reapers are about reaping the souls of the dead at technically the right point, aren't they?
Yeah, I guess.
So let me say that this smells of unjust death or inappropriate death.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I get that one. Cool. So I have so I have the layout, and maybe we can figure out how to get in there later. I will return now to the village in my car and Valentin.
Fine.
They've been treating each other nicely.
And so what we probably see that the Raven circle down behind a building, and then Dave comes out from the alley and goes to find Valentin, which will not be difficult, because my guess is that Valentin will spot this out of the window, because like all English fictional villages, you know, wherever you're sitting, it's fictionally appropriate for you to see what you need to see. And so Valentin's probably knocking on the window of the pub.
Oh, maybe I just call him. I could just call him. I mean, there are cell phones in England, I'm pretty certain. So,
Dave, interestingly, there is no signal.
Okay, that's weird, because this isn't like in Germany where you have weird no signal in villages. I think in England you usually have cell phone coverage, right?
I mean, in bits of rural England, you're a long way from a mobile mast, so it's not impossible. and this is in a valley with hills all around it. So it could be that there's, but it, you know, normally you kind of get something.
I had signal last time I was in Dartmoor and Exeter and all of those places. So,
well, this is truly odd then.
Okay, so I had signal in some in Hay in Wales, so that's pretty remotely.
I certainly want to create the impression that it's odd.
Yeah. Okay.
If you know Valentin, which you do though, then the fact that the car is near a pub is probably a good indication that Valentin is in the pub, sort of haughtily drinking some mead if possible.
Okay, I will go find Valentin and the mead. The mead is fine.
Alan, you're muted.
As we cut from Valentin and Dave sharing a drink and catching up in the pub, let's cut back to the forest where Sophie is helping Livia to her feet, just to rub in the embarrassment.
Yep.
What do we see? What do you do?
So in one hand, Sophie's got like Levitain still like pointing in the direction they need to go, and then with the other, she's just putting her hand up down to.
It's no longer certain which way to go. At the point that they disappeared in that, literally disappeared in this kind of strangely formed couple of trees, your homing signal went.
So yeah, I'm still like putting out my hand for Livia to help her up if she accepts it.
She accepts it. What happened to the little buggers? Where did they went?
Well, I'm not detecting them anymore, so is there a way I can maybe figure out what that means? I out of character have a theory of why that is, but
then tell us what Sophie's theory might be, and I can embellish or crush, as the case may be.
Like my theory is that they're no longer on this plane.
Tick.
Okay.
They've stepped sideways into fairy would be your straightforward suggestion.
And I can know that in character?
Absolutely. It's the only way that Levitain doesn't, that's what happens. Were you in fairy, then there's a very good chance that Levitain would be able to work again. But across those boundaries, they're solid. Well,
it looks like... Okay, so... Well, it looks like they crossed over into fairy.
Well, that's good. We are rid of them. They are not exactly what we wanted. Also, we are on the spot where we really wanted to get to. So, I guess we should be looking out for the girl.
Sorry, I just had to put that picture up because I think it's a wonderful picture of what any portal to fairy ought to look like.
All right, so let's just have a look around then.
Yeah, let's see if there's anything that Jolie left behind, or maybe she also went into fairy.
So you're now going to, because Sophie, what I will tell you, now that you're processing it, you were in a hurry to catch the goblin, so you didn't think about this at the time. But at the point where you went into the forest, that was very much the perspective that you got when you earlier tried to define where the missing Julie was, looking down on the village from above, and behind you, that plantation. So what do you do?
Like I saw, you mean? Are you saying I saw the portal basically?
Sorry, no, that's misleading you. You saw the plantation that the goblins disappeared into, and what I described to Livia as she was chasing them was that the woodland began to change, so that as she went deeper into the plantation, there's this core of old deciduous woodland near its center.
Okay.
Yeah, but now that you come, now that you're contemplating, hang on, the view, if I turn round when I was at the edge of the plantation and looked down towards the village, that is the view I would have got. I got when I tried to find Julie, and the point at which I entered the plantation is an awful lot like the view I got when I was looking for Julie. But I don't want to suggest that she's through that portal. That would be misleading you.
Okay. So she was in this area of the woods, is what I'm.
That's it. Oh, well, yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so
the thing is that normally when you use that tracking spell, it not as we discovered in episode 1, it normally gives you a picture of the person in a situation. It didn't on this occasion.
Okay, so I'm gonna activate the third eye again, and I'm basically looking around this area of the forest for any signs of unusual supernatural.
Okay, I mean we don't have the full rule set yet, so I'm hand waving some of these gifts, but in the same way that Dave's capacity to see the dead can apply when using some of the other moves, I think that you're either trying to pierce the veil, or there is bend fate, which is not a move that we've investigated. When you push a gift beyond its normal limits or try to wield the supernatural forces of fate, roll plus weird, and it can give you some boons and banes. I don't know whether.
I think this is definitely like within the normal for third eye, like seeing what is seeing the supernatural, basically.
Fine, go with pierce the veil
then. So that's judgment. Reroll.
Are you definitely re-rolling those, or are they just stuck on those numbers?
No, I definitely re-rolled those. So I'm gonna spend a thread again. Just re-roll the 1. Okay, so
that seems bizarre.
That's
so bizarre. That can't be happening as often as it should do. Next time, Sabine chooses the rolling room, okay? Because that never fails groups of my players. So re-roll that friggin' one more time, because I just don't think it's changing.
Okay. I mean,
the 1 becomes 2. Okay.
So that's a 7.
I think, Sophie, I can tell you that you are seeing the supernatural. What question do you want to ask?
Where is Julie?
I think that you will. You're in the this kind of area of deciduous woodland in the middle of the forest, and your third eye directs you in that direction towards the conifer plantation. And we cut to you standing in a kind of, not quite a clearing, because the trees, but they're evenly spaced. This is man planting. And you're looking at the ground and the shallow grave that you see there. at which point we will cut to Valentin and Dave. What are you doing in the pub or in the village?
Well, I'll go and join Valentin with his mead, and I will then tell him that the factory appears to be based somehow in death. I cannot explain this, but it seemed oddly, for some part of me, very comforting. For some other part of me, it seemed very weird and unpleasant. But, you know, I was a raven, and when you're a raven, death always seems like kind of appetizing, I guess. And then I will pick up a grape and swallow it.
That makes sense. I think I'd maybe like to go talk to the barkeep then. I'll sort of mention as I wander off that I thought Triumph of Depravity off the last album was actually quite catchy. And walk up to the bar.
And the landlord kind of says, you know, I don't know why it doesn't happen more often. King's mead. Ask for mead. Just never happens. Never happens.
I'm going to use my little cantrip glamour thing to make myself more charming. Say, I'm sorry if I came off as a bit brusque when I first came into the pub. I had been traveling for a long time, just really needed a drink. But now that I've had one, I just wanted to apologize.
No problem, sir. You know, we're gearing up for the tourists. You know, this weekend will be chaos. So, you know, if they're all half as nice as you are, I'll be a happy man.
Oh, well, thank you. What's this weekend?
Oh, it's hunt weekend.
Hunt weekend. Is that a local tradition?
Local tradition. The King's Hunt.
The King's Hunt?
Yeah, only when they come, they find a hunt. King's mead, they don't find any mead.
Well, it seems like this is a delightful place to learn about the local customs and such. And I'm a bit of a... I just happen to really like folklore, and I was wondering if you could tell me about is there any local just interesting things, you know, like supernatural happenings or legends, you know?
You know, I don't know about any of that stuff, I'm afraid. I've only been here 18 months myself. You know, I've come from Bristol where I ran a pub. So I'm, you know, I won't be local here for another 30 years.
Right, of course. Well, that's too bad. I could have sworn I heard some whispering on our last stop about goblins or something like that, and somebody else mentioned something about the Jaeger paper company, and it seemed like there was maybe some mysterious local things that would be fun to read up on. But
Jaeger, everybody here works for Jaeger. You know, it's the only work in miles.
Everyone who doesn't work at the pub, I suppose.
Well, you know, me and Elsie and Joan, yeah. But, you know, just, you know, and some of the shopkeepers. But if you want a job around here, then you work for Jaeger.
Interesting. All right. So perhaps if I just strike up a conversation with someone at some point, they might be able to tell. It seems like such an odd thing to have such an influential paper company out here in Dartmoor.
I think they probably kept the village alive, you know, when they first came here 20, 30 years ago.
Kept it alive. All right. Well,
you know, it's in the middle of nowhere, isn't it?
Yeah, no, I suppose it's good. Well, it's been lovely talking to you. I suppose that was probably one of the last bottles of mead, given how dusty it was. But if there is any more, my friend and I over there would love another.
I mean, it's quite a strong spirit, so I think it's probably serving it to you in relatively small amounts. So yeah,
if we could get a top up, then.
Indeed. What else do you want to do in the village?
I'd like to relay the information to Dave that probably most of the people here work for Jaeger.
Yeah.
And maybe we can find some people to talk to in an unassuming fashion and just get some impressions.
I am not an unassuming person, Valentin. Neither are you. But I think people would love to talk to you, or maybe even to me. But I wonder if there is these little places. They often have museums about the history of this place because it was probably founded in 666 or something like that. I mean, this is called King's Mead, so that insinuates that there was some king here, and it was probably Arthur, because Britain is always Arthur, and we should maybe find a kind of a museum and the curator or something.
Yeah, we should make sure to keep an eye out also for something called the Hunt.
What's
coming
the
up? I'm not entirely clear, but it has to do with the king and not mead, is what I... And I'm not sure what king exactly or what they're hunting, and I didn't want to be too interrogating with the barkeep, who seemed to be jovial but not the most knowledgeable. But it seemed like something called the Hunt that is this weekend specifically might be interesting.
Do they have a tourist center? I mean, this is in the middle of the Darkmoor, and people love the Darkmoor because there's this novel about a dog, apparently. So maybe we go to the tourist center and get some leaflets and find out what that hunt is about.
What I will tell you before I cut back to Sophie and Livia is that there is no tourist information.
No.
There is a single kind of notice that you see in some shops and in the pub that simply says that, let me get my date right, dusk on Sunday, September the 22nd, the annual King's Hunt.
Are there other people in the pub?
There are. There's a couple of old blokes at the back who, I have to say, Valentin, are looking like that at you two.
I think perhaps we should go speak to them. I'm keeping my cantrip up, so I'm charming.
Yes. Let's go speak to them. I will try to minimize my deaf aura because these guys are old and they might not like that.
As you approach them, they get up from their table, leaving their drunks undrunk, and walk past you out of the pub. Let's cut back to Sophie and Livia. What do? You're staring down at not just one, but several shallow graves, Sophie. You've worked in the police service. You know what this looks like.
So I'm gonna pick out the one that that I was being drawn towards.
Your estimation is that is the most recent one.
Okay. I'm gonna start digging up the earth to see what's beneath.
Describe your feelings as you uncover the skull.
Rage.
Livia, what are you doing while Sophie is kneeling quite reverently, I think is the sense I get, and just gently clearing earth and leaves and layers of pine needles from the top of this shallow grave?
Something tells me this was not the fairies.
No. And I'm going to close my eyes while I'm holding the skull and use psychometry.
To activate which move? Is this pierce the veil?
Yes, pierce the veil.
Then go ahead. And I'll allow you to twist the questions any which way to fit with psychometry.
So it's That's 9.
So you get to ask me 2 questions.
What happened to this person recently?
I'm going to give you a flash of her last moments as she's torn apart by wolves.
And where did these wolves come from?
Kingsmead. And what we'll see is interspersed flashes of a pursuit by a pack of wolves. It looks like she's heading towards Kingsmead. We'll intersperse flashes of her perspective in the dark, heading through the forest, desperately trying to reach the light at the top of the church tower. It seems that's what she's navigating by. There's a brazier burning on the top of the tower, and we intersperse that with you uncovering a thigh bone which has been gnawed on, and uncovering another long bone that has been snapped and the marrow sucked from it. Sorry, Pearl, too much.
You know, that moment where you realize there was a better question you should have asked.
What killed her?
She was torn apart by wolves.
Okay, that makes sense on this place. The question is, why are their bodies buried on Jaeger propriety? As far as I know, wolves are not known for their digging skills.
They're also extinct on mainland Britain.
Yeah. So I saw her being chased by them through the town. Is that correct?
No, she was running back towards a brazier or a bonfire or something burning from the top of the church tower. She seemed to be running towards that. You know, occasionally our flashbacks, there's a pause as she focuses on that and reorientates towards it. And she was being pursued and was brought down.
She was trying to
go on.
She was trying to reach the church. There was a brazier burning. Maybe
at that point, before Sophie speculates, I cut back to Valentin and Dave as these 2 old fellas in tweed caps push past them and leave the pub. What do you do?
I turn towards Valentin. I say, that is unusual. I mean, has happened to me before, but not in a village.
I'm going to call after them and be like, oh, you've left your drinks.
They ignore you and leave the pub.
Let's talk to the barkeep.
I've already spoken to the barkeep, and I dislike being ignored. I'm going after the 2 men who've pushed past us, but if you would like to talk to the barkeep, by all means, maybe you can get something I didn't.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. We'll meet at a car or something.
Yeah.
Valentin leaves the pub, and Dave, you go to the barman.
Yeah, I just ask him, hey, these 2 guys, they just left their drinks. What's up with that?
Oh, you have to excuse some of the locals, sir. They can be a bit sniffy about tourists. It's almost like they don't like them coming.
Okay. Yeah, okay, I get that. I mean, I don't. I'm from London, so.
Well, you know,
I'm a London cabbie.
You could be from Exeter and you'd get that response. They put up with me because I serve them beer. But, you know, like I said to your friend, who's just, you know, gone, maybe in 20 or 30 years' time, they'll treat me like, you know, something other than just someone who serves them a drink.
Oh, well, okay. That's harsh, man. I'm sorry.
And I think we got to... Oh, go on.
Yeah, no, I was just going to make small talk. And I will continue to make some kind of friendly small talk if he's amenable.
Oh, yeah, he's very amenable. He's because he's not local. Valentin, you leave the pub and they're walking off down, stumping off down the street. What do you do?
I think I can just walk faster than they can, probably.
I think you
is my
probably
guess.
can. I think you can.
And so I will walk past them and then turn around so I'm blocking their path and say, "Gentlemen, really a shame to waste a good lager and a stout. Was it Sam Smith?"
And they just look at you.
Cat got your tongue.
And then they go to walk around you. What do you do?
I'm going to. Do I have an actual move I want to use, or do I just want to like continue pestering them? I don't think this counts as something I need to. There's no secret. Like, is there any reason to use like esoteric, etc.? Like, this doesn't seem truly obscure yet. I don't think
they're just being really rude.
Yeah, I don't like that at all. So I want to use some sort of move to stop them. Sway.
Sway is the convince.
Fireball. I will use sway. Excuse me. Still getting over a cold. Bother. Plus I have zeros. That's a flat roll. Let's see what happens. An 8 on sway.
On an 8, they'll do it, but they demand some kind of price. So they'll stop and they'll say, "What do you want to know, outsider?" And then fuck off. And it's just odd because these are two apparently innocuous looking old blokes.
Especially with my charm cantrip on. I'm very offended.
Indeed.
I can't really sick danger noodle on them, although he can do all my cantrips. So that is something to keep in mind.
So it looks like
I
they're
would
prepared
like
to answer or have a very short conversation with you, and then their demand is that you will fuck off.
Why are you lot so hostile to outsiders?
Kingsmead is for people from Kingsmead. And then they stalk off.
I suppose I shouldn't smite them. I really dislike being ignored.
Which is why you don't smite them, but instead a female voice behind you says, "Oh, I'm sorry if they were rude to you. It's the village is funny this time of year."
I will turn around, making sure my cantrip is extra enhanced. And who might you be?
Oh, hello. My name is Anna Willicott. They put up with visitors on the day, but people who come through before, they're just,
On the day of the hunt?
Yeah.
I mean, well, and I'm Valentin, and I'll extend a hand.
Now, sorry, I'm going to step out for a moment because Pearl wasn't here last week. She doesn't know that Livia Aurea was sent here by Hermes to find out how she could help Anna Willicott.
Oh, okay.
And I think, unless I'm much mistaken, that is probably the point at which we roll credits on this one, because we've got a series, what looks like a kind of series of serial killings in the forest, and Valentin has bumped into the only name you have in the village. So that would seem to me to be a decent point to just tie a loop in this one.
Well, if we can have a final shot, I'll take her hand and kiss it and say, like, enchanté. That's my introduction to Anna.
And the cantrip goes like, no, I think what I will tell you, and this is what will close us out then, is the picture of her, look, the charm works, but this is a really unhappy woman who looks like she's got the weight of the world on her shoulders. And that little bit of brightness, you just see that slight sense of the woman she could be if the weight of the world wasn't on her shoulders.
That makes me sad.
And obviously, in these occasions, there's never a next time on Demigods, because we will play to find out what happens next time. What I would quite like to do is, we took a note of some wishes last time. We had stuff like more supernatural on Dartmoor. We had some more interaction between characters. And just to get a feel for the way that the game went. Before we do stars and wishes looking forward, there is an end of session move, which again I knew it was there, but I ignored it last time because I didn't think we played enough in character to get there. But there is an end of session. At the end of the session, pick one tangle that feels tighter and more important to you, the character. If no tangle feels tighter, choose one that feels looser and less important. Add one to the rating of the tightened tangle. Now, I have to say, mechanically, I'm not quite certain how this works, but let's do that, because I think just in terms of the character relationships, it might be helpful. So can I start? Let me go the other way. Let me start with Valentin. You have three tangles in play. Does any one of those feel tighter?
No, my big thought actually is that I would like to switch Dave and Livia's.
I'm happy if Dave and Livia are content with that. I'm content with it.
Like, Livia's a warrior, and love that neither side knows always amuses me. How do you two feel?
Ludo, okay with that?
It would be that we've fought the supernatural shoulder to shoulder, and that I trust you explicitly.
I think it would be fine for me.
Sabine, how does that feel for you?
Yeah, it's okay. It's fine.
Okay, so if we imagine those shifted about, which one feels? I'll let you select.
I think that the one with Dave feels the most leaned in on. I was at least attempting to put hints of that in. So,
okay, well, if you would in the notes section put Dave Tangle +1, because the character keeper takes no account of this, which is why I'm slightly confused about its mechanical weight, but I will do my best to find that out by next time. Quickstart, who needs them? Moving on, Sophie, is there one of your tangles that seems tighter?
So I don't feel like any of those came up, like the specifics of them. I suppose, I mean, maybe Dave has seen me disheveled and confused, so maybe that's why they weren't so sure about my directions, but...
Yeah, I'm not quite certain how this ties together, but I think for the sake of, in effect, playtesting a quick start, let's add a tangle to Dave. Let's make Dave Tangle +1 for Sophie. What about Livia?
I think I increased my tangle with Sophie because definitely felt more drawn to them.
Yeah, because yes, and you've spent quite a lot of time together this episode, haven't you? So I think that makes sense. And finally, Dave, see any of those?
Yeah, I want to increase my tangle with Valentin because I was around him a bit and I was trying to catch his attention and maybe didn't make myself very clear about what I wanted, but that's fine because I'm not that open about feelings.
So the Valentin tangle goes up to +1. And as I say, I will. Do we feel any of them loosened? If I go round again. Oh, sorry, Rob, were you attracting attention? Beg your pardon.
If from what I read, they start at +1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they would go up to +2.
+2. Okay. Go back, Valentin. Has anything loosened?
I don't. Oh, sorry. I'm not.
I don't feel like it really had a chance to.
No, I tend
because they just kind of took off before much conversation had happened. So,
what about Sophie? Have any loosened?
I don't think so.
Okay. Livia
Not really.
and Dave.
I don't think so. I mean, I wasn't in a lot of scenes with Livia, but I have no reason to say, "Oh, I hate Livia now," because it's okay.
Yeah, that's the thing I'm struggling a little bit. Is that the tangles don't seem to be action orientated in the sense of did this happen or did that happen. So yeah, I'm struggling a bit with them, but we'll see how it plays in our third session next week. Okay, so with all that done, then can I start with Sabine? Any stars and wishes?
Yeah, sure. I mean, stars for lots of stars. I like that session. I mean, I always love seeing Livia in action, and I hope we will get to see her in more fighty scenes, because that's, I think, where she shines, and quite literally. And well, Sophie is just just so clever. I like her. I like the way she gets to track lots of stuff. And oh, my dear Valentin, you seriously need to loosen up, my friend. You really do. You'd be so cute if you did. Even your danger noodle is loose. Look how it bends. Oh, and Alan, thank you for running it. It was very nice, and I loved those pictures. Now I have another place I want to go. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know that all of Dartmoor Forest looks like that, but certainly some of it does. Ludo, any stars?
Yeah, I want to give a big star for Sophie's detective work, for guiding us even as we blundered. I really like the scenes in the town and the track, the weirdness of it, and then the outsider vibe of the town, and the reveal that it was pretty obvious, but it was still pretty dreadful when it eventually happened, about the fate for the tourists. So yeah, we have a nice mystery. Now let's see where we go from there.
Thank you for that. Yeah. What about Rob? Any stars?
Yeah, stars for everyone. I liked Livia, like basically jumping in and intimidating the goblins so much that they all just like no, ran away. Sabine, I liked you using the Raven form to track the Jaeger guys, and also like suggesting that you might actually feel a bit comforted by the aura that was coming off that factory, rather than like what would normally because you are avatar of death, so to speak. And Pearl, I like how Valentin is kind of the most the most demigod of us. Like they're definitely like kind of, that got that haughtiness. They I'm not going to bother with that. I'm just going to do my what I feel like, and just being very charming, and yeah, really like that. And Alan, a great mystery. I like the little hints that we got of what was going on. That there's enough there for us out of character to kind of guess what's going on, but not necessarily have our characters know what's going on. So yeah.
No, thank you for that. And finally, Pearl, stars.
Yeah, stars to everyone. Livia's use of the charging move, unstoppable, is delightful, as is the van full of wrestlers. It just makes me happy that that's a part of this game, period. And yeah, the just charging around makes me very happy. And then I really enjoyed Sophie's chat with the goblins. It seemed very like sort of delightfully casual for a bunch of goblins that had been attacking a truck in the middle of the road, but also very to the point, very useful. But that whole scene I just enjoyed with both Livia and Sophie's interactions. And then Dave is just a fun character that my character is going to continue to want to play with, or toy with, as it were, as the game goes on, I imagine. But I also really thought the move into a raven was a clever use of the animal transformation gift. And I thought everybody used their characters in very fun and interesting ways. And I agree with everyone about the mystery and the bits of reveal and hints here and there. And I did, in fact, work at a pub in London once, and I recognize all of the people we've encountered, even though they aren't. They were in London. I also spent a bit of time down in southwest England, and it is all too familiar. So much of it. So excellent work creating our world and making it. I just have a terrible feeling about everything that's coming next in session 3, which is, I think, exactly what we're supposed to have. So,
yes,
thank you all.
I'd like to think that finding a mass burial of sorts and goblins, where can that go wrong? My stars are collective, really, because the way that you reacted to first encountering some goblins, and then that turning into, oh, there's something very sinister going on here. I thought you all lent into that really nicely, so I thank you for that. It was very pleasing. And you saw the breadcrumbs where they were scattered, which is always nice. Let's go back round then and do wishes for next time. What do you want for Dave, Sabine?
Well, I think right now I am very much happy with how this is running, with a mix of personal scenes and action scenes, or plot scenes, let's call it that. I would like for us all to meet up again, but other than that, I mean, yeah, I guess I'm fine.
I mean, as far as that's concerned, my intent, I think, would be to hard frame you back into the pub or into the middle of the village, because I think that's the logical, dramatic approach that the writers would take. We've had all this go on, now, back together. So unless someone objects to that next week, that's probably where I'll start. What about Ludo, wishes for
Yeah,
Livia?
I kind of went to see us coming together. And I went to see the secret society, how it's gonna play in this game, because the next session is going to be the only time that they get to really be a part of it.
Yes, I don't want to put any pressure on Pearl, but I think we're all eager to know the secret society, because the sense I get with Valentin is that he's kind of take it or leave it with the Pantheon, but the secret society now, that's a different thing. So, you want to give us some hints on that next week, we'd be very pleased. Rob, what wishes do you have for Sophie, or indeed for anybody else?
I want to see how Sophie goes about dispensing justice, because that's kind of the point of the Celestial, to an extent, is to yeah, but she has a cop and she's a demigod, so she's probably gonna do something about this.
Yeah,
I just haven't got a picture of what that is.
No, well, I think all I can do for you is to present someone who might need to be judged. How you play with that, I think, is then down to you. Yeah, does that seem like a reasonable way to go?
Yeah.
Okay. And finally, Pearl, any wishes for next time?
Yeah, I'm echoing everyone's wanting to get together, which it sounds like it's going to happen. I'm envisioning having fun storming the castle / paper mill, sort of situation. And my intention with the secret society is to kind of tie it together with my sanctum, which also has not come into play, and to possibly disappear briefly and be able to communicate with them there, because I won't be able to do that in front of the rest of you as characters, obviously, not as players. But yeah, so I would like to use my sanctum to communicate with the secret society, which I will come up with something interesting before next time. And then I would like for us all to have fun storming the paper mill.
So in my mind's eye, I'm seeing communicate impossibly, using the sanctum as the kind of telephone exchange to your secret society. Does that?
Yeah.
You know, if you come up with something better, that's fine by me.
Okay. I will.
Okay.
I will think of a good way to incorporate.
Fine, because it's a bit like the portal in the back of the minibus for Livia. I'm not certain how to make that one work for you, I'll be honest. Okay, so thank you all, folks. I will see you the same time next week. Pearl, for all we know, you may be in a different country. If so, have a good trip.
Quite possible. Thank you.
See you from somewhere else, perhaps. Okay, guys. Broadcast is finishing, so say wave bye-bye to the internet.
Bye, internet.